Um, hey guys, welcome back to live stream here on YouTube. As always, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. My time, which is Spain, so Madrid. Let me see. Let's start with saying hello to everyone. And Spain already started with a question a few minutes ago. Let's start off with a question. He says, what can you tell me about PP 4x5 cameras, Graflex copy? I've never actually used them. I've seen them in the market, NPP camera. I've seen them in the market, but never really been into them. I thought they were British, and they are British. But let me see. They do look like a Graflex copy. Don't know about the film holders, if they use as normal film holders or not. Press cameras throughout the 50s, priced at £85. Yeah, it says here it differs substantially with the micro technical cameras and was based on a Graflex speed graphic pacemaker with its top-mounted rangefinder predated by at least 4 years. Yep. And they stopped making them. They didn't last too long. But yeah, I haven't really used them or seen them before. But they are pretty much copies of Graflex cameras, sorry. Hao says, hi everyone. Next question. What is Gum Arabic Chrome? And have you ever used it before? I've heard about it, but I've never used it before. Arabic. Good question because photography. Oh, okay, yeah, I know what it is. It's a way you can even do color printing with gum, gum bichromate. Probably saying that wrong. I've seen a few, and I know it's really hard. People that master it take years too, and but it's pretty cool. You can do like different layers for each color, and from a black and white negative, or I think black and white negative, or maybe color, you can do different colors to achieve a color print. Finally, it's kind of like a carbon transfer, but multiple times, or like a how do you say it? Not Cyberchrome. The blue one, cyanotype, but like multiple times. But yeah, never used it before. I have seen it, and I know people that do it here in Spain. Hi Hogarth, hi Adrian, hi TV Photo, and hi Science of Photography. For those that haven't seen, follow me on, I think I posted on Twitter and Facebook. The Science of Photography made a video for the daily grain show that I'm trying to get together. Interesting video. He shares many of my points about the T-Max 3200, and hopefully I'll have my video out soon. But yeah, he makes a good point on using it, and he actually shared, I have to answer your email, which I haven't yet because it hasn't been the best day. But yeah, I will get back to you, Cyrus. Have my email here. He shot his first roll, I think, at 25,000 ISO. And we have to say, I'll let you guys watch his video, which is probably going live on Friday, he said. So you can watch that and see what he does with P3200. So let me see, Analog Adventure. I just got a transparency film today, so now I'm going to print a negative around A3 size, then contact print it. Then I will do the same with a negative and normal darkroom print. So fun. Yeah, I saw, Spain, you had some issues with your darkroom and printing on in the enlarger and not getting sharp prints. What they recommended on that thread on Facebook was pretty good. What they basically told him was first to check that the enlarger is aligned, and by that means that everything is parallel. When you're enlarging, if there's any kind of shift between the negative carrier and your easel, I mean, a 2-3% degree can make things come out of focus and not be sharp. Also, you always have to focus with a grain focuser. If you have more than one, better sometimes to make sure it's working. Focus on the grain and put a piece of the same film stock, paper stock you're going to use when you enlarge. So you put that under, and you just focus on the grain, and that should make that small difference, because it's probably like almost 0.5 millimeter, but that's enough to throw focus sometimes a little off. So yeah, hey Mateo, Hao says, nice, my instructor will show me how to do it in a few weeks, even Palladium too. That's major words, Palladium and stuff like that. I've never done it yet, but I do want one day to get in there and try to do that as a final print. I do have the 11x14 camera, which I can't enlarge. And the whole point for me buying that camera was to do contact prints and alternative printing. So cyanotype, Van Dyke, doing gum, maybe palladium and stuff like that. So I'll be interested in seeing how you do. Actually, talking about Hal, which is very much into architecture photography, I got this today in the mail. It's Guggenheim, New York, shot by Ezra Stoller. And on the other side, the Guggenheim Bilbao. If you guys don't know, this is where I live, in Bilbao. And we have the Guggenheim in Bilbao, which I thought was shot by Ezra, but it's shot by Jeff Goldberg. And it's a little booklet. It was like $3. And it's an interesting little book. Talks about the architecture of the different buildings. And I'm excited to start shooting the Guggenheim soon, even though it doesn't look as clean as it does here. We live in a very gritty and smudgy area, so the titanium is getting dirty. The Science of Photography says, yep, ISO 25,000, results are in, negatives were thin, but the results are usable for scanning. I'll try to print from the negatives, but that will be a challenge. Lumila, hi. But yeah, basically that. Then the other day, I managed to finish my Cinestill roll on the Fuji GW680. I'll be doing a little video on this camera. Everyone knows the Texas Leica, but this camera is pretty fun. This one's the 6x8, which is a little rare, and this one's maybe a little bit more rare because in the back of the camera, where the film goes, it's missing a little piece of it has like a little mask that makes it 6x8 from 6x9, because these cameras were made in 6x9, 6x8, 6x7, and the difference is they put like a little mask to mask it down, and this one's missing one of the sides, so it's a 6x8.5. Hogarth actually was bidding on this, well, told me about this camera, and I bought it. So sorry, Hogarth, and thank you for letting me get it. If I ever sell it, I'll sell it to you. The Cinestill was not the 50D. I'm still haven't shot it. I want to shoot it as soon as possible. I shot the Cinestill 800T, which is from the first Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign. Now I loaded it back with Ilford HP5, and I will be shooting. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's a fun camera. If you ever want to get a rangefinder camera, you don't want to pay for those Mamiya 7 prices, which are, how do you say it? They're gone crazy. I mean, Mamiya 7 2s are going for 2.5 grand. Mamiya 7 are going for like 1.5. These Fuji cameras, the 6x8, 6x7, 6x9, go for between $250 to like $600, and they're sharp as sharp could be. Fujinon lenses are top notch. They're easy because they're super small, have the built-in lens hood, easy aperture and speed. Rangefinder is pretty good. It's a small spot, but you can see it pretty much from everywhere. You don't get too much of the lens inside the rangefinder, so it works pretty good. And yeah, they're pretty cheap. And you can shoot 220 film, 120 film, if you can still find 220. And they're fun cameras. They even have a frame counter on the bottom so you can know how old it is, even though this usually has nothing to do on how the camera works. You have to check if the camera is doing well. This one has a pretty hard helicoid, and Advanced is pretty rackety. Like you can hear that it's not in its best days, but still fun camera for those who want to get something on 6x8 or 6x7, 6x9. It's the same size. It's pretty huge. Leica M2, just for reference, this is how big it is. I feel like you could probably fit the M2 inside the body. So you can see it there. Probably my webcam is horrible. But Leica M2 is almost as tall as it is long. And in this way, you see it. Takes a pretty big amount, but it's very lightweight, very easy to carry, fun to shoot. And yeah, I think I've said enough. I'll leave more information for when I make a video on this camera. Been shooting the HP5 with it. Got a little brick here that I got out of the freezer. A little expired, but it should be fine. And then we have the Acros 100 box, which is actually empty at the moment because Acros is discontinuing film, Fuji, and I have one left here. Analog Adventure, I've had a roll of Cinestill 800T in my fridge since last year, never seemed to find a time to shoot it. Exactly my problem with Cinestill film. And I'm working on a video about that same subject and how I have a pretty big problem with different emulsions and changing between them. I'm kind of a one emulsion guy. I kind of like shooting one in one way and just not changing much. And every time I purchase something out of the normal, it takes me forever to expose it and even more to develop it. JKL says, when is Ektachrome coming? Well, Ektachrome is still not in the market, as we all know. And I don't have any insight news from Kodak, but my guess is they'll come out whenever they're ready. I know they've been sending film to labs to, you know, beta rolls and stuff to check exposures. They're working on it, but I'm not asking pretty much yet because I know whenever it comes, it will come. I think it's down to making that film great. And considering that everyone's looking at Kodak right now with that slide film coming back, they don't want any issues with it. And I'm sure chrome film is not something that's just turning on the machine and saying, hey, make chromes. They'll get ready when it gets ready. I'd rather they make a good product than they make, you know, some Ektachrome with their backing paper printed on the frames, like they've had with Ektar, with Portra, with T-Max 100, and all those. Let me see. Hogarth says, well, Leighton, good evening. Hogarth says 800T is pretty okay, 50D is awful. No, you don't make me want to use it. And that 50D Hogarth is thanks to you. So if it's awful, I'll you know, blame you. Let me see. The Real Sir Robin, which nice to see you here. The Real Sir Robin, thanks for that mention on your video. I didn't know it was you till someone here mentioned it. And enjoy your channel and seeing your shots. Actually, better, he says, better shoot Vision 3 500T, much cheaper and no halos. Actually, after watching your channel and someone here mentioning about a place in the UK to buy the stock, I've been extremely tempted to start shooting basically Cinestill handmade film. So no Cinestill because it's a little pricey, and the halos is not exactly my liking. But I will get my hands on some soon, and we'll be shooting some of that just for the fun of it. Hogger says, go away, expansion shells. That's to the Real Sir Robin that's be enjoying some holidays far away where most of us won't go ever, probably. Hogger says, I want 120 Ektachrome. I'd be happy if when, by the time Fuji really discontinues pretty much everything they're going to discontinue, I'm happy if Kodak has managed to come out with Ektachrome and they're producing 35 consistently, Super 8 and all that, and hopefully 120. I also think the biggest issue would be hopefully to get it in 4x5 and 8x10, even if it's through Keith Canham on special order, which he's already mentioned he's talking to them about it. But do bear in mind that large format film usually has a different film base to the roll film, so it's a little thicker to be able to have that precise focus. And actually, Cinestill film has a problem that their Cinestill film for 4x5 is too thin for the specs for 4x5 holders, and that's why you can't buy it right now. They're working on it, but it's still not ready. Let me see where you guys are. JKL, what your parents think that you do analog photography? My parents support what I do, don't really ask much. My dad actually even a year ago asked me if film was still made, which kind of made me feel like what I do on YouTube and what I do on Instagram and what I do on my daily basis hasn't reached anyone if it can't reach my father. And that I work with him every day. I work in my family business. And but yeah, they don't say much. They actually enjoy my work. I have to say that when I walk to my parents' house, they live a few minutes away from here, and they have grandchildren, and I take pictures of my children with film, and I print it on paper in the darkroom. And my sister has some children, and she shoots on her phone, and then they take it to print through a WhatsApp picture, and you see the prints. And I'm just gonna say I'm happy that I take pictures on film, and those pictures are there to stay, at least for now. And those phone pictures through WhatsApp sent to a quick print 1 hour shop just look dreadful. So every time I get a chance, I actually shoot a few pictures of anyone that I can get, like my nieces or nephews, my daughters or anything like that. So they enjoy my shooting. Disco Shrew says, I want 4x5 Ektachrome. I'm with you. I want 4x5 Ektachrome too. Hogger says, I just don't like it. I shoot some in Myanmar and nothing was good about it was good. That's about Cinestill 50D. Analog Adventure, we like Cinestill 800T, which is the 500T Vision 3 film. Nobody seems to like the 50D, but what film is that originally, and do we like the original? I mean, 50D is 50D. You just have to go to frame 24. There you go. 50D is Kodak 50D film. It's nothing else. Let me see if I can show you guys this 35 200T. Yeah, 50D is 50D here. Kodak Vision 3 50D. Stock 5203. Here you have it to buy it in 35 mil. Let me see if they have. They don't have it in bigger sizes. 65 mil. Yeah, you can buy it in 65 mil. And make your own medium format film, even though I've never tried that. Let me see. Exactly, like the real Sir Robin said, just after I went away. It's based on Vision 3 50D. I see people loving on the 50D, so I had high hopes. The 800T, I shot a lot at 3200. I mean, you have to understand, movie film or movie stock is a film that usually is made to have a lot of, I would say, latitude. So it'll be very subtle and a low contrast, and then you're going to have to bump contrast when either printing or scanning. And when you're printing, at least in the darkroom, you have to use a paper that has high contrast to try to get contrast. And those papers are becoming extinct. And the ones that are available are hard to find and not always cut to sheets. They're rolls, so it's hard to find. And yeah, my partner in the darkroom likes contrasty shots on color RA4 paper, and he's having trouble with that. Horace says, also real sturdy Robin. I really shoot 120, so I can't shoot 500T. Exactly. I got it on eBay in 120, 50D, and 500T based on MX. You guys are gonna really make me want to buy more of this kind of film, and I shouldn't be doing that. TV photo. Speaking of Fuji, when I attended the photo expo in Stockholm, Fuji tried to gain interest in their Instax line, but it was zero because all the interest was over at the Polaroid Originals booth. When I went to Photokina in 2016, all the interest was also in Impossible. Instax had a huge booth, but I feel the people that go to Photokina don't really go to that kind of place. The Instax market is mostly younger people, at least what I've seen. Lots of cousins and stuff like that have it, shoot it. But you don't have so many people that are serious about photography so into Instax, at least not in 2016. Maybe now with the Mint camera and the Mint rangefinder camera, there'll be more, I say, pro users that will be interested in using Instax film. But up until then, it was still Fuji FP100C and Impossible for their different films. But yeah, there was not much there. The real Sir Robin, by the way, try ECN 2 processing soon. I can't get into so much yet. Just finally got back into, I bought a kit of C41 and getting back into C41. And that I have the Joba machines and I have the darkroom, but I've been out of color for a very long time. Let me see, when you mentioned how Kodak only produced 4x5 films, 10 sheet box, I'm kind of mad thinking how expensive Kodak 4x5 film is. Don't even want to think about 4x5 Ektachrome's price. Well, yeah, I think the main problem with the 10 sheet boxes is that Kodak is upping the price of their 4x5 and film and every pretty much film they have to the point that nobody would be able to afford a $50 sheet. And seeing the prices of everyone else, like Ilford or FOMA or Fuji Acros even, it seems inexpensive compared to Kodak. And even more here in Europe, a box of Kodak Tri-X and 8x10 is ridiculous here. And color film here in Europe in 8x10 is around 26 euros, which is probably like 30 something dollars. And that's without processing or anything. So you buy a box of film, you pay $300+ for 10 sheets. You shoot, then you send it to a lab if you don't have a darkroom. And you pay probably around 10 to 15 euros on top of that. For 45 euros, you have a developed sheet of color negative 8x10. So yeah, they're gonna have to start making one sheet boxes for the 8x10 portrait. Actually, you barely can find it in Europe, 8x10 color, because no one's buying it because they don't want to stock it. Have you ever tried Ilfochrome, says JKL. I actually have one kit of paper and one kit of chemistry to do Ilfochrome. So I haven't, but I hope to be able to one day try to get something out of it. I think it's a 10 sheet box, so probably I won't get anything acceptable, but at least I've tried Ilfochrome. I feel like I missed out on that one. I have an Ilfochrome print in my parents' house of my sister because she works on TV and they took a shot of her with the Hasselblad and slide film and it looks stunning. So I really wish I had tried it before. Hogarth, call me when Instax Square back for my Hasselblad pops up. I've been told, Hogarth, that the Reservat people are almost done with a universal Instax back for medium format. And that was basically told to me yesterday. And that probably means it's close to being done, if not done already. Let me see. Disco Shrew, how probably still cheaper than Velvia 50. Yeah, everything's cheaper than Velvia 50. But Ektachrome and Kodak would probably maybe be around the same price. Analog Adventure. Also, I've been hearing two people in the industry and people that I guess know better than us normal users that Fuji has already stopped all film production and all they're doing is cutting their master rolls into whatever the market is asking. So you're buying Velvia 50 and you're seeing it get restocked, they're probably getting the master jumbo rolls or whatever they call them and cutting them for 4x5. If you are a Fuji shooter and you love slides, I recommend you start thinking about really stocking up because I have a feeling it's going to be just one after another discontinuing their stock. And actually that communicate like that, how do you say, that statement they made about Acros being discontinued from 4x5 and 8x10 in 2000, I think 18 or 19, that's what they said like a year ago, was probably seeing the sales they were having and kind of like guessing, okay, we've got this much left, we're selling this much a month, we've got another 12 months. So yeah, if you're a Fuji shooter, stock if you want to keep on shooting slides, especially. Analog Adventure, the Vision 3 500T must be an awesome film for wedding photography. Talk about storytelling and without halos. Yeah, I mean, it has to be nice to not have the. I wish Cinestill gave you the option. Maybe it'd be nice. We should ask them. Make Cinestill with Remjet for people to develop at home, and that way we could have 120 500T with Remjet, and then you just do it at home. Maybe that would be possible and cheaper. Cohen says, hi, Nico and everyone else. Hi, Cohen. Stuart. Hi, Stuart. I have 2 rolls of Cinestill 800T, yet not an indoor photographer. I saw the Agfa orange gel to fit it. The ID of your lens threads. Do you create the filter grade? Fit the ID of your lens threads. The Agfa, it's probably the Adox one. The Adox Photo Impacts. I don't know how much it takes. Probably a step. I would say it takes 1 step. I'm going to Adox right now. Well, Photo Impacts, which is the store for Adox. Film. I can't look at stuff when I'm in a rush. Okay, guys, you have a bunch of Heliopan filters, but that's not what I want. Coding, color, filters. Okay, why are there no filters? Okay, Adox Snap-on, 85D, or B, sorry. 2X, so 1 stop. Stuart, you would need the 2X, which is 1 stop. So 800 would become a 400, unless you push it to 1600. But I have the same problem. I have 2 rolls of Cinestill 800T, and I shot 1, and it took me a year. So yeah, I'm not an indoor photographer, and even less a tungsten photographer. Ludmila says, yeah, talking about 4x5 sheets, is slide cheaper than C41? No, it's not. Or is it a thing about amount? No, it's not about amount. As 20 sheets of Provia 100F is cheaper than 2 packs of Portra 160. Oh, maybe it is. At least not in the States, I feel. I don't know. I'm not a big slide shooter, but maybe it is cheaper. If Provia is cheaper than Portra, then it's when we've really reached a point where Kodak has to stop it. Let me see. Analog Adventure FOMO 100 8x10 box of 50 sheets cost 130 euro in Norway, 2.6 euros per sheet. How can anyone afford Ilford or Kodak? That's why I shoot a lot of my FOMA film for maybe projects I'm not sure about, or maybe some fun shots. In large format 8x10 and 4x5, it's pretty fun and quality is pretty good. So I've used that. Hogarth says, I've never shot any slide film. How is the Provia? Hogarth actually just shoots Provia, so I'm not answering that one, Hogarth. TB Photo, went into a photo store today, got some T-Max 135. 135 roll of Velvia was about 20. Yikes. Yeah, here, 1 roll of Velvia 50, if you can find it, is around 17 to 18 euros. So yeah, 20, 21 euros. Like Disco Shoe says, slide film in large format is almost prohibitive expensive, at least here in the US. Yeah, there's a pretty big difference between the US and Europe in prices. If you guys ever feel like film is expensive and you live in the States, you should check prices we pay in Europe, especially for Fuji, Kodak, Ilford too. And you'll think, oh, why would Ilford be more expensive in Europe than in the States? Well, it is way more expensive. Even Burger, which is made in Europe, also is more expensive in Europe than in the States. So yeah, being a film shooter is not the same depending on where you are in the world. And that we have it pretty easy in Europe and the US, where we have big stores. Some people that live in other countries, like I have a friend in Emirates that they have nothing available there, and people in Sri Lanka, another guy that I know on Facebook, has nothing available there. So those people really struggle with that. Think about shipping, importing, every single thing. Let's see how Lumila's song, if you compare the price per sheet, it's almost the same price on B&H. Stuart, yeah. 85B Adox is a 2X, so one stock. Martin Tran, just buy the bulk roll of 500T from Ultrafine. That's what I'm looking into, buying that stuff. But in 120, they only sell it with perforations, at least that I know. It's the 65mm stock. How Disco Shoe, color in general, C41 and E6 are expensive and almost the same price on B&H. Oh, Lumila, how I bought a 20 sheet Provia for 95 euros, but 20 Portra in Europe is something like 135. Yeah, that's our problem in Europe. This Christmas, I went to the States and I bought 10 boxes of Portra 4x5 for workshops. And I think each box was around 35 to 36. Here in Europe, a box of Portra is 75 to 80 euros. So yeah. JKL, how can I get a cheap Leica? First question would be, what do you consider cheap? And second, I'll tell you what I did. I just look around and I wait for the right camera. First of all, you got to think about Leica has a lot of name to the brand, but not every single camera in their line is so hyped. So for example, the M2s, the M3s, and the M4P and M4 II are pretty inexpensive, and I quote inexpensive, because depending on your budget, it might be very expensive. An M2, usually when it's a little used, which mine's beat up, I don't know if it's this one here. Oh, I don't have it here. It's usually around 500 to 550 euros, which to be Leica is pretty not bad. The M3 you can find for 550, 600 euros. They're actually more expensive in the US than in Europe. Disco Shoe, Hector and Portra 160 isn't that bad. Portra 400 is hella expensive though. JKL, go for the R SLRs. That's also a good way to say. Yeah, go for the reflex cameras. They're cheaper. Those probably the cheapest modern camera, or something with an LTM, which is Leica thread mount. Yeah, the Leica 2F, 3F, I don't know if 2F is actually something. I know the 3F, 3C and stuff like that are pretty inexpensive, and the Leica thread mount are pretty good. They're super small cameras, and they're pretty inexpensive considering. And then also you can get something like a Bessa and put a Leica lens, or the other way around. Get a Leica and get a Voigtlander glass, and it works pretty good. House says Portra 160 is 33.95, 10 sheets, Fuji Provia and Velvia 74 for 20. Yeah, it's a little bit more than twice. That is the price in the US. Whoa, you guys are way faster than me. Slide is like $3 more per sheet in the US. If I compare prices on cameras and accessories on eBay with a local market here, the difference is huge, but strangely, pricing on film is about the same. Yeah, the market depends. I mean, there's a lot of fluctuation in the market. It depends if you're going to stores, if you're going to eBay, if it's a big country, a small country. Some countries didn't import Bronica cameras. Some countries didn't import Mamiya cameras. Actually, my father was telling me the other day when he saw me with a Mamiya, that Mamiya was not sold in Spain for years, and it took forever. And now, I mean, now no. When it basically ended, it was already available, but Mamiya wasn't a big market here. So there's not many. Here it was a market for Bronica cameras. Ludmila song sounds like you should send me some portrait and I'll send you some slide. Oh, yeah, just remember customs, Ludmila. Stuart says value of 50 in the UK off Amazon is 40 pounds for 5 rolls of 120. We should make a next sell with all the prices, and then we can start buying all around the world. Hogger says, hey Martin, how is the Mod 54? Is Martin here? Stuart, Probia, 28 pounds for 5 off Amazon. 28's not bad. Karmatic, hi. Analog Adventure. When folks talk about a sharp film emulsion, how much are we talking? I'm guessing film is pretty soft. How big is the difference? I mean, I don't find film to be soft. What I've shot of Fomapan in 8x10 and 4x5, I contact printed or I printed in the enlarger. I don't find it to be soft. When you're talking about sharp, first, the sharpness is something that depends a lot on the paper. It depends a lot on the film structure. So if it's T grain or tabular grain, if it's classic grain, it depends on the developer you use, because certain developers give the feeling of it being sharper. For example, Rodinal gives a sharper look than, for example, D76. To me, at least, it gave me a bit of a softer look. So I wouldn't say FOMA would be soft in general. Do shoot the 100, which is going to be a little bit better than the higher ISOs. But yeah. A Green says, didn't Minolta make their eye line for them? I'm not aware of that, but probably. Leica and Minolta had a thing together for a while until the Minolta CLE was selling better than Leica cameras, and then I think they broke it off. Actually, probably the cheapest Leica M mount lens is the Leica 40mm Summicron, the 40mm C, which was the one that was sold with a Leica CL, which is a Leica Minolta CLE. Martin says, oh, here, Martin, sorry, I must have not seen. Haven't got a chance to use the Mod 54 yet, however, haven't shot enough film. Might change Sunday though. Disco Shrew, in my experience, film is pretty sharp but grainy. Mine too. Leighton says the R3, R7 Minolta made the body, but the Prism was Leica. The R8 and R9 are all Leica. JKL, it's really hard as a student. I mean, if you're a student and you're looking to get into Leica, first of all, go for what you can afford. I recommend, if you're a student, don't get so worried about Leica. I would recommend you go with any Canon, a Nikon, DSLR, SLR, and something, for example, as the Nikon F100, Canon EOS 3 or 1V, 1N. Those are extremely good cameras. The lenses are pretty inexpensive. You can get a 50mm 1.8, 35, 2. F2 or 2.8, and just shoot around and just spend your money on film. As Disco Shrew said, I meant as a student, I wouldn't be shooting a Leica, exactly. So if you're happy with your Nikon, like you say, stay with it. That's what I would say. When it boils it down to it, camera's just a light-proof box. I mean, I enjoyed my Leica camera, and I have to say, I wouldn't be shooting 35 probably if it wasn't for it, but I had a Nikon F80 for years, and I was very happy with it. Nathan says, I shoot Leica, and you can tell a difference, but it is really diminishing returns. If you have a good SLR and a good pro-level glass, stick with it. Exactly. Leighton has always good advice. Or buy better glass. That will give you better bang per buck at the moment. Or you could get something like Canon 7 or something like that. I mean, yeah, there's other rangefinder cameras that work pretty well. even the Zorky cameras, if you want to get something fun and into rangefinders, you can find some good ones that work. But yeah, like a glass does make a bit of a difference. But honestly, at the size I print, I don't usually tell. I can't tell, at least from my own work. Maybe I should do like a one-on-one comparison. House says, I'm a college student too. Canon Elan E2 with a 51.8 STM is pretty okay. Exactly. Disco Shoe, I like my F3 since you can get pre-AI lenses for wicked cheap as compared to the newer ones. Yeah, I actually had someone give me a pre-AI lens, and I tried to put it on my Nikon F80, and it didn't work. I learned the hard way after pushing a little too much. I hope it still works. The science of photography. Do you have any experience with RA4 printing? R4, yeah, RA4. Sorry, I read it the wrong way. Do you recommend any specific RA4 color paper processing chemical kits? I do have experience with it. Probably have a box of prints somewhere. Yeah, I have a box of prints over there. But I recommend you start with a Tetanol. That's what I used. As for paper, I used the Fuji Crystal something too. It's the only one I could find that was cut into sheets. Here in Europe, we have a few stores that cut other papers from rolls into sheets. But yeah, the Tetanol works pretty good. There's also a few kits that you can get from other brands, but I'm pretty happy with the one. There's a Kodak one that's huge. So if you can split it with someone, it's something like 20 liters and the price is really good. But you have to find a few people that might want it, as it will last a while. The RA4 chemistry, if you pre-soak, which I recommend, because if not, you just run a developer really fast, will last longer than you expect. So 20 liters might be too much. But yeah, Kodak or the Tetanol work really well. Karmatic says, I know that you are developing your negatives all at once. In my case, I develop a few rolls at a time. It's about 2 months since I did my last batch. Do you think the chemicals are still usable? Depends on what chemicals you're talking about. If you're talking about C41, I don't know. I rather do new chemicals than screw film. So I always, like go the safe side and I just go for it. I jump into getting new chemicals and mixing it all together. I've tried the whole like, it'll be fine, and screwing up film is the worst feeling. Not only the price of the film, but the moments you shot that you can't get back. Let's see. Jumping, no. Leighton says the LN2, which I think is a 33, is an epic camera. I have one, I use it lots. Martin says, I developed Ilford FP4 for the first time. The base crystal clear compared to FOMA. Did you also experience this? I find what they're telling you, Disco Shoe says, you need to pre-soak the hell out of FOMA. FOMA has a neon green layer to it, and I actually have a few sheets. Give me one quick sec. Okay, sorry for that, guys. I once made a video comparing 13 by 18 film to 5 by 7. This is a sheet of, it looks like Kodak T-Max and Fomapan. As you can see, the T-Max is kind of grayish, kind of looks like a dead white. And the Fomapan on one side is gray, but look at the other side, it's bright green. This is the, how do you call it? Yeah, the base color, or the anti-halation layer, which is made for any light that comes behind won't affect the film too much. It will, finally. That's the whole red scale from lomography. But you can tell the difference in the color. This you need to wash a lot. I pre-wash all my film because I develop on a Jobo. I give it 5 minutes at 20 degrees Celsius, 68 Fahrenheit, and it comes out green, green, green. and of course it's this. Then make sure your fixer is still good and wash. A lot of people think that if it comes out with a bit of a color in the base, it might be that they didn't fix properly, which is one of the reasons. But also you got to wash a lot. I've managed to sometimes develop 2 sheets of film like this, and what's happened is that one, for example, let me see, like this. So this is the emulsion side. I've developed this side, and it was stuck to something, so the anti-halation hadn't come off, and I thought, oh, I'll just fix it again. I threw it in the fixer, gave it a fix for a few minutes, nothing came, new fixer, and the green was still there. So I put it in water, and after a few minutes of just running water in a tray, it was sheet film, it became perfectly transparent. So take it to consideration that washing is very important. Probably more important, not more than fixing, but it's very important too, because of course you're gonna remove that fixer, you're gonna remove that color cast that the base can have. Let me see. Yeah, it comes very green. Martin, Fomapan looks fogged compared to Ilford. If you're getting like a white color, like a milky, that's lack of fixing. You can fix it again. What is the result from not pre-soaking? What to look for? I mean, not pre-soaking doesn't make it worse. Usually pre-soaking gives a few benefits. First, you wash off the anti-halation layer. Second, you get the gelatin on the film humid and like a little wet. Well, wet. So it's ready to absorb the chemistry. Third, it will make the film be at the temperature you want. So if you're doing 20 degrees, it won't be such a hit, because of course your tank will be at a temperature and your chemistry will be at another. So as I do pre-soak, it comes in at 20 degrees, it stays there for 5 minutes, so it leaves at 20 degrees. And when the next chemical comes in, it's pretty much the same level of temperature. So that's what I do with pre-soak. Ilford strongly suggests not to pre-soak. I pre-soak all my Ilford film. I have no issues with it. So I'm going to continue doing it. Let me see. Joey says, never had issues with Foma being foggy. Mostly it gained contrast very quickly compared to other films. Yeah, I've never had issues with foggy. I'm telling you, maybe wash more and that's it. Martin says he pre-washes until clear. The edges of Foma look great compared to Ilford. I'll have to look in my darkroom, but I haven't found that difference in emulsions. It's funny, 5x7 and 13x18. This is an old video I made. Still have the film. Hi, Oscar. You guys should see Oscar's prototype for the Pinomicron. Still waiting for Oscar to send me one for the sake of it. But yeah, wash your film properly at the end. That's all I can say. Let me see. What else do we have? Not much more, guys. You've got 10 more minutes, so if you guys want to ask anything else, if not, I'll keep on playing with sheet film. This someone must have sent me because I've never bought T-Max 100 and 5x7. But yeah. What else can I say? Not much really. Analog Adventure says, when using almost 100% old cameras for this crazy passion we have, why doesn't more of us have a shutter speed tester? I never actually built. I know people have built it. I've actually used audio on my videos to make sure the 1 second is 1 second. You can record the sound of the shutter, and then you can put it on video editor, free one even, and count the frames. If you're shooting at 24 frames per second, then 24 frames should be 1 second. You can even do that with video shooting at 24 frames per second. Shoot multiple speeds and count the frames on video. Put a flashlight through the lens and you don't really need a shutter speed tester. Leighton says, a lot of people think FOMA are a bit optimistic about film speed, so it tends to be a little more contrasty. It's a great film. FOMA 400 is more like 320. I am not sure. Like, look, I've been shooting FOMA 100 at, this is FOMA 100. FOMA 100 at ISO 80, developing it for 100 speed time. I've been shooting the 400 at 250 and developing it normal as 400. And I've been shooting it at 1600, the 400, and developing it for 13 minutes, I think. And it actually comes out pretty good. I like the looks of it. I know it's grainy. I've done some contact prints and it looks fine. I would have to enlarge to see if that grain is really that bad. But of course, pushing to 1600, there's going to be grain, even if it's 4x5. Let me see. Oscar is laughing. I hope I can send you one soon. Maybe I can bring one or two to Photokina or something like that. Still working to make the counter work better though. Oscar, you're more than welcome to come over here in Spain and visit. We can shoot some panoramics with your camera or my cameras. We can compare X-Span to Panomicron and see how it goes. I don't have an X-Span, but I can get my hands on one to do that. Martin says, thanks for everyone's input. I will try wash more. Whoops, let me see. Timothy, hi from Texas, Nico. Hi from Spain, Timothy. Do they still sell FK in Spain, and have you shot any? FK has been closed, I think, since 2009. Basically, their coding machine broke, and that was it for FK. And no, they're not selling any FK in Spain, sadly. There was the seller here that imported FK, still has some old film there, but it's usually badly expired, and I wouldn't recommend buying it. But it was great film. Their infrared film, thanks to Matt Mirage from the Film Photography Podcast, is the film I would have loved to try. That infrared shots he takes on 8x10 are amazing, and sometimes it pops on eBay, but I'm always scared that being infrared and being old, it might be bad. But yeah, sadly, no FK here left. Kyle says, Arista Edu 100 or EDU 100 4x5 Fomapan rebranded just went up in price here from 35 per 50 box to 50 per box. Anyone know why? I didn't know that happened. I don't know why either. But I did have a conversation today with Dave Bias from Ferrania, and there's going to be an article coming out about the state of film and a few things that are behind the industry that maybe are not being seen by everyone. And I can't really say much yet because this was a conversation we had, and I don't know how much I could say or not. But there's a few players in the game that are not willing to cooperate right now, and maybe, I don't know if Fomapan, I think, has their own facility to cut their film, but maybe could have something to do. Maybe it's something to do with import. Remember that in the US, they're starting to put a certain, penalizing imports, and maybe that could be it. Here, Fomapan is still around 35 to 40 euros a box, so around $45. But don't know why it went up there. You could ask Freestyle why it went up. Joseph says, whoa, did you get a 16mm camera yet? Joey, I have to say that I have, and I haven't. A guy here contacted me through email or something, I don't know how, and someone told him about me. And he is a cinematographer that shoots documentaries. Actually went to Mongolia right now to do some documentary I can't explain. And the guy has a Bolex 16mm camera at home with 7 lenses that he's never used. So I think we're gonna get it working together. He's coming back in a month and get it to maybe film something for the channel. I probably won't be able to shoot a lot. Maybe an intro. That'd be fun. Maybe do an intro for the channel on 16 mil. And do it at 4K, something like that, and show you guys and tell you my experience. I'll probably screw it all up, but I think I've learned a little bit about shooting videos, and I mean a little bit because I find it way more complicated than I ever thought it would be. You and me talked about it at Film and Beer in San Francisco, Joseph. But yeah, hopefully you'll see some 16 mil coming through. Kyle says, yes, check out B&H or Freestyle. That must be about the price. Timothy says, I'm wondering the same thing. Haven't bought it any for a while. Yeah, FK is gone, if that's what you're going with. Disco, yeah, it did, Kyle. That's disturbing. Well, you can still buy the new 55 has that film. No, I'm not gonna get the name of the new 55 film. But they have that film, which I would say, and I'm not sure, but I would say almost to 100% that it's Fomapan 100. Isn't it Atomic? New 55 Atomic? I can't remember. But yeah, check the price out. Maybe it's cheaper. I am printing a roll from Foma 400, shot at 400, shot in Italy, and it's lovely. I need to get some 35 and test it out. Kyle says, now I will probably try Ilford FP 125. Oh, has anyone else signed an NDA for the Ferrania investment? I sent my back in yesterday. Yeah, actually, Ferrania got back to me about the news, the investment stuff, Atomic X, exactly. Ferrania got back to me about the investment tab to specify what it really meant in the terms. They hadn't made an announcement yet because they didn't really want to say it out loud, but it's a proper rounded investment. They're looking for investors to grow up their production, scale up basically. And the minimum investment is pretty high. I won't disclose exactly how much they are looking for per investor, but it's pretty high. I mean, if you guys are committed and want to invest on it, I highly recommend you do. I think they could do with the help, but it's a long-term investment and they have big plans for it. I talked for over 30 minutes with Dave Bias and I'm very excited about what they're doing. Hopefully I'll be able to go over and report as soon as possible. Nick says, I have some FK1 IR820C, which is the infrared in 4x5. Had no idea that it was until I saw it pop up on eBay for 4 times more than I paid. It's so foggy now that it's tough to get a usable image. That's sad. Timothy, rumor about the mill regarding Ektachrome. I just said there's no real rumor right now for Ektachrome. Disco Shrew, New 55 is out of business, but they're not really out of business. It's, let's say New 55 has closed the door for now, and Famous Format, run by Sam Heiser, which was New 55, former New 55, is still selling Atomic X, and you can also get the new version of Monobath, and they sometimes run into some New 55 P. Oh, no, I forgot the name. I'm not having the best day with memory today. The New 55 positive film. Positive, negative film. Oscar, Disco Shoe, you can get it there. Yeah. Disco Shoe, I actually said it on the news a few weeks back, but yeah. Go to famous format dot, let me see, oh my God. Famousformat.com. And there you can get it. There you go. I'm going to stick it here just to help these guys out because I think they need help as much as we can do. Cantrell, looking for a way to scan next, but scanner seems slow and tedious. I wish somebody made a pack-on inspired machine for the mass market. With film supposedly growing, shouldn't this be a priority? I think you're right. I think scanners are going to be a pretty big issue, considering the Frontiers are getting really old. Hasselblad has the Flex Sight, which is really pricey. and technology hasn't really changed in a few years. So yeah, I really hope there'd be a Kickstarter for a pack-on inspired machine to do 35. It would be nice to do 35, 120, and maybe even 4x5 if they had a module for 4x5. But 35 and 120 would be awesome. Price it around like 1,500 euros and get colors out there. The color science is the hardest part. Andrew, it's 10 o'clock, guys, answering the last questions. Andrew, I'd like to develop and print my color negative film. There are so many different chemical brands for C41 and RA4. It's hard to know what to use. What do you use? I'd like to not spend over 150. Andrew, I use Tetanal, Tetenal chemistry. They do 2.5 liter kits. They're sold for around, I think, 50 euros or so. So you can get, for 150 euros, you can get 2.5 liters of C41, 2.5 liters of RA4, and a box of Fuji Crystal RA4 paper. And you still have some money left for probably shipping. So that's what I would recommend. What do you think about contacts, JKL? Contacts, I have the G2, and it's awesome. Sadly, electronic cameras fail. A friend of mine had his G2 fail last Sunday. And once they go wrong, then there's no coming back. So I love them, but I don't like the fact they're electronic. About any other contacts cameras, I'm not too used to them or don't know so much about them. House says, have you ever used the Dai 6x17 roll film back for large format? They're disappearing on eBay. Oh damn! I was counting on getting one. Nope, haven't used it. Hopefully they won't disappear. Oscar, there's a project on RFF where somebody is building their own scanner Kickstarter plan, I believe, but it's taking its time. It probably needs to take its time. Well, guys, thank you for everything. Best restaurant in Bilbao, Cantrell. That's a good question. Best restaurant, I don't know. Send me an email and I'll let you know. And if you're gonna come to Bilbao, I hope you come and visit my studio. Film's on me. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for another day. Remember, next week I'll be back here at 9 o'clock Spain time. Take care, good night, and see you next week.